Now, you see here on the table, people ask me, is that what all paratroopers carry? Well, there was a certain portion that they would carry. Standard combat load was 3 days, 3 days worth of anything, 3 days worth of ammunition, 3 days worth of rations, 3 days worth of clothing, 3 days, 3 days, 3 days. They were the shock force. They didn't come in heavy because their main goal was to hit it, wait till the heavy guys came in, which were your glider riders, and they would come in and push whatever advantage the paratroopers would have made. So 3 days was it. But if you take 3 days, well, let's see, who's a sturdy lad? You're a sturdy lad. What's your name? Randy? Brandon? Okay. Randy, right? Okay, I'm jacking with you. All right, come here, Brandon. All right, Brandon. How much do you weigh, Brandon? You're not going to.
100 what? About 100 pounds. So your average paratrooper back then was 150, 175, depending on what size he was. Just to put this in relations, when I jumped out, I tested with the Airborne Board and Special Operations Airborne Board, and we served as wind dummies. I weighed at the time 195 pounds. When I got onto the aircraft, I weighed 364 pounds. Okay? Now, everything's being relative here.
What are you leaning back for, Brandon?
I said bend forward at the waist.
Bend forward.
There you go.
I'm not playing you with your behind. Don't worry about it. Open your leg a little bit.
Left leg's up.
Okay, this is...
He's milking on us here.
Yeah. Brandon, you didn't eat your Wheaties this morning.
I'll tell you what, I'll take it later.
Okay. The harness I have on Brandon is what they call a dial of death. You're not scared, are you? Okay. We're not going to. And these came about right after Normandy. The British actually used these before the Americans did, but what's interesting about it is this is an American manufactured device. They could call it a dial of death, or they call it a QR box, or a bang box. Yeah, I'm tightening him up. I don't want to tighten him up too much. His mom might wonder where he comes with all these bruises.
Bend over the waist.
All right.
You shouldn't be able to stand up when it's done properly. Matter of fact, when you're jump school, you're so tight, you're walking like this.
It hurts.
It's not fun.
The bang box during Normandy, they had a lot of problems with guys trying to get out of their harness because it was what they called a three-point harness. It connected one connection around the chest, the other connection around the left leg, and the other connection around the right leg. And when you were in harness and you had all this stuff on, and I haven't put any of the combat gear on you yet, Brandon.
We're talking Hollywood, that's what common term. This is Hollywood jumping right now. No equipment.
Guys had trouble getting out of the harness. So the Americans adopted this right after Market Garden. And basically what would happen is, what they could do is they'll pull that fork, and I'll show you once I get him out of here, they'll pull that fork, hit that in their chest, and the whole thing comes apart. Oh, Brandon, I forgot to put the rest of the gear on you. Daggone it, I know you're working on that. I'll give him like half his normal load. So basically what would happen is he would have his web gear on, his ammunition, gas mask bag, his Mae West, combat knife, 3 days worth of rations, his musette bag, which is 3 days worth of rations, charms, whatever, poncho, Jeep cap. If he was a grenade guy, he carried a grenade launcher. Bazooka man, he would have carried this with 3 rounds of bazooka rounds. And then he would have carried his M1 Garand. The M1 Garand came disassembled just like this, and basically what I would have done is, since Brandon's being a good sport, I decided not to give him everything. Basically it would clip on right here disassembled, and that's how they had it. Okay, but the reserve went over on top of it. Okay.
Now imagine, all this is going to hit the ground eventually. And one way or other, you're going to leave that plane, whether the parachute opens or not, it's good material. But the point is, you're going to hit the ground. And all this stuff will make contact in some way, shape, or form. And guess what's going to get? The body. The rifle's not going to get how much.
Yeah, there's bruises galore. Put in 2 grenades, a gamma grenade, a Hawkins mine, and a smoke grenade. Then that's pretty much a combat load. So let's yeah, there's smoke grenades or incendiary grenades. I said incendiary. Okay, Brandon, I'm going to put 2 bandoliers worth of ammunition on you. You ready? Now, he wouldn't have jumped it like this. I'm just being nice to Brandon. Or Randy, I forgot. Some people ask me, well, did officers carry rifles? Yes, officers carried rifles. General Gavin carried an M1 Garand during his whole time when he was a division commander. Did they carry 45s? Yes or no? It depended upon who they were. So basically what would happen is, as Mike said, this whole thing, he's wearing just basically what we're make-believing for right now. Is that pretty heavy? Okay, now imagine sitting in that for about 2 hours. Okay, pretty weird. You ready to get out of it now? Okay, so
walk around the museum with.
Well, what normally happens, in my case, especially the Air Force, they wouldn't pull up to the pack shed and just climb on like an airliner, right? No, the plane would be clear down about a quarter of a mile away, and you've got a large pack, you've got all your gear on, remember, 364 pounds, and you're doing the waddle all the way down there in this long line of paratroopers. So what these guys did, luckily for them, they all, if you saw the diorama out front, they all kind of congregated, they had all their gear brought out, and they kind of loaded up here and they got on the plane well up.
okay, so what would happen is Mike mentioned, now he's come out, he's hit the ground, his parachute's out, he's not being drugged, thank goodness. So now what he's got to do, he's got to get out of this thing. So he's got to take the reserve, he's got to unclip the reserve.
He's laying on his back right now.
And he's being fired at. Brandon, duck. No, I'm just joking. Randy. All right, so this QR box, let's turn around, Brandon, show everybody. Okay, the bang box, I'm not going to hurt you with this, okay? So basically he would take out the safety fork like this, he'd give it a quarter turn, red, you're dead, okay? So what would happen, he would just take it, slap it, and it came out just like that. Now, believe it or not, the British had adopted this early part of the war. The Americans didn't adopt it until after Normandy. There were several instances. In fact, I've got a, where is that? Oh, okay. There was an investigation early part of the war. This gentleman here is named Dick Field. He was a 551st Parachute Infantry Regiment. These guys were involved in an incident over at Camp McCall, North Carolina, where there was a congressional investigation. The Army Air Corps accidentally dropped about 40 guys over a pond near Camp McCall, North Carolina, and out of the 40 guys, 8 guys landed in the lake and died because they could not get out of their harness. Congressional investigation ensued. Several congressmen said, why are the Americans not using what the British are using, even though it's an American-made piece of equipment? And they never really got into what happened because 3 months later, Normandy occurred, okay? So they went back in, investigated the equipment. They went to this style of parachutes that you see right here today. Now, one of the things, interesting things that we have, that both Chris and I we come in contact with some guys who actually did this for real, and they survived. And we have some pictures of what they look like now, what they look like then, and a couple of the things from the World War II era. So, Mike, if you guys got any questions or anything, just feel free to ask about anything that we have here on the table. We're going to try to get the TV up and running and show some videos. Maybe do some hand puppet balloon animals, face painting, I don't know.